How do you bring about change in countries? How do you do it? Democracy, we decided, many of us, you and others, is the best way to give people their voice. Let them go out and organize, say what they want, protect them from the state to say what they want, and then build a coalition around ideas. But we're not doing that. We don't have a viable debate about real ideas right now. It's the people. And once upon a time we did. When I came back from the war in Vietnam, though I protested it and led protests against it shortly thereafter, the first thing I actually did, I became involved in something called Earth Day. And we brought 20 million Americans out of their homes on the same day, all across our country. Nobody had ever seen anything like it, saying we don't want to live next to a toxic waste site. We don't want to live next to a dump with toxins that get into our water and give you cancer. I mean, a whole bunch of things. We don't want to have a city like New York or Los Angeles where you can't even see from one side of the city to the other. Those were felt needs. And what we did was we organized out of those 20 million people, we targeted the 12 worst votes in the US Congress. And in the 1972 election, we defeated 7 of the 12 Congress people. You know what happened? All the survivors said, oh my God, this is a voting issue. Even Richard Nixon said, this is a voting issue. He tried to grab it. He devoted 1,000 words to it in his State of the Union message that year, and scant anything to, Vietnam and other issues. So we made it a voting issue. You know what happened? We passed the Clean Air Act, safe drinking water, marine mammal protection, coastal zone management. We created the Environmental Protection Agency of the United States of America. We didn't have one. And Richard Nixon signed it into law. Why did all that happen? It's a voting issue. In 2016, when President Trump was elected, do you know what the eligible voter turnout was in the United States? There's no reason you would. 55.6%, a 20-year low. You know what the youth vote was, who care about climate change? 19%. So that's the obvious thing we have to do. When I ran in 2004, we were at 62.1% turnout. When Obama got elected 4 years later, we were at 63.7% turnout. Get the drift? If we make this a voting issue, if people can be stirred to vote the way people vote in Sudan and in the Philippines and in the West Bank and in Kenya, all of which are elections I've observed, where people waited 15 hours in the hot sun just for the privilege of voting, if we do that, we're going to win the future. Because all the solutions, folks, are there. They're man-made, human-made, person-made. Think about it. Not one, except for a volcano or a tsunami or an earthquake, everything we face is an organizational, structural issue of governance. And we've got to make our government work in my country, and I think a lot of other people do. And one of the reasons people are so pissed off, frankly, is because of the failure of governance in too many places. They really are. They don't have time. They don't behave the way legislatures are behaving. They don't behave, avoiding reality. They got to pay their bill. They got to pay their mortgage. They got to send their kid to school, buy a car, live. And they want to see adults supposedly behaving like adults. They also want to see somebody in an important position like President of the United States able to pick up a book and actually read about science and do something about it.